got the whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Well, he's got me and you, sister. In his hands, he's got me and you, brother. In his hands, he's got me and you, everybody. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Well, he's got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he's got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he's got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Michael Saucier, everybody. Dr. Severin Bennett on piano, everybody. Come on.
Wow, thank you, Linda. Thank you, Severin. Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chloe Bride, and I'm the interim minister here at Pacific Unitarian Church. We are a Unitarian Universalist church gathered in love and covenant with a mission towards justice. We're a church that welcomes all. And as a part of that welcoming all, we have childcare from now until the service is over, available in our back children's building. And we also have a religious education program for school-aged children that begins after the time for all ages. And I believe if you're doing that, you are with Amy and Lucy today. So Melissa and Lucy today. So there's Lucy there. You're also invited to join us for lunch today after the service. If you're new to PUC, lunch is on us. And we have a really special Mardi Gras luncheon for you today. We begin this morning with perhaps the most important UU ritual of all, and that is announcements. I want to let everyone know that we're having some internet issues this morning, so we apologize if there's any errors in the live stream or anything like that. Trust us, we know about them. We also want to invite you after the service to stick around for a workshop with the Dr. Paula Cole-Jones. She's a fabulous advocate and trainer, and she's going to help us continue important conversations around building a more inclusive community here at PUC. So we hope that you'll attend either here in the sanctuary or go home and attend on Zoom. Along with our regular events this week, regular events like the lunch packing, Seekers, men's group, and our Thursday lunch, we have a special social justice movie night this Friday. So if you join us at 7 p.m. here in the hall for a showing of Ants and Grasshoppers. It's a film featuring Anita Chitaya, who travels from Malawi to California on a mission to show Americans that climate change is real. Finally, I want to thank everyone who braved the rain and wind to attend our second annual Luminescence celebration on Friday. We had 25 or 30 people here for a potluck and small service, and it was just a really lovely time. And we still have our altar up from that event, so feel free to spend some time with the light. Thank you, everyone. We're so happy to have you with us. And James, if you would light our chalice this morning.
Our chalice lighting words come from The Missing Remnant by Sophia Betancourt. The good news is that we are in control of what we do with our daily living period. If we, each of us, represent a missing remnant in the fabric of our collective future, then together we can lean into a possibility that we have yet to fully experience in human history. A collective wholeness, an unassailable good. This is the kind of salvation I am here to fight for in the small moments every single day.
Good morning. Oh. I want to thank you all for showing up here today. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with your hearts and minds open. Thank you for showing up here today, for showing up for the simple faith rooted in service, social justice, and love. You've landed here on a historic day. Today is a day made for leaning deeper into the decades of work done by Black, Indigenous, and UUs of color around the world. Relentless, unwavering work that has led people all over the UU world to carry further the journey of dismantling racism and oppression in all its forms, in all its churches, and in all its layers of governance. Their work, which you have seen come to fruition by enabling me to be here with you for the last year, work that is also evidenced by the presence of our wonderful guest speaker, James Coomes, who will share with us his heart for his faith, his passion for wellness, and the many insights he's gained by being a lifelong UU of color in fierce service of building the beloved community. The powerful advocacy work of James Coomes has been shaped and informed alongside Dr. Paula Cole-Jones, who handpicked him to come give voice to his experience and knowledge and the historic work of transformation that they've been doing together for over 20 years. This is a great day at PUC. We welcome James Coomes to worship and share with us. And then later this afternoon, as Chloe mentioned, Dr. Paula Cole-Jones will host our Building a Culture of Inclusion workshop. And today we turn a page to write new verses into the poetry of Pacific Unitarian story, a story that will tell how we showed up and did our work together and took new steps towards progress. As Reverend Ashley Huron, the organizing strategy director of the UUA, once said, "Together we are resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to the call, to make it our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than to bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again to be part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen. Please rise in body and spirit as you are able, as we sing a song that James picked out as one of his favorites, hymn number 108, My Life Flows in Endless Song.
Good morning. Come on down. Young in heart, young in age, young in intelligence, like me. Okay, I'm going to sit on that side because the gorgeous lily is kind of, so if you want, you guys want to move this way a little bit, that'd be great. I want to start today by asking you some questions. How many of you sing in a choir or have sung in a choir? Yeah, so there are different voices. Do you know what the different voices are?
Soprano, alto, tenor, and baritone, I think.
Yeah, now why do they have all those different voices?
So that the songs can have variation.
Yeah, so the song has different levels, right? Right. And what do those levels do to make the song more impactful?
They make harmonies, and harmonies sound cool.
Harmonies sound cool, right? Because they're stratified, and yet they make one big whole. We're going to talk about our voices today. So I don't know if they're going to be up there or not. But why don't you come a little closer, guys? This book is called My Voice is a Trumpet. Thank you. Thank you. My voice is a trumpet. and it's by Jimmy Allen and Kathy Ann Johnson. Some have a voice as tall as a tree, loud and proud, and sways in the breeze. Some have a voice as small as a bee, soft and sweet like kisses of honey. Some have a voice that's patient and wise, with lessons of life and through sparkling eyes. I know I have several people in my life like that. Do you guys have a person that's a voice of wisdom? Yeah. Some have a voice sunny and bright, a voice that can echo and light up the night. There's a voice that's silent, but still can be heard, with hands that move to speak every word. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Oh, this is up there. Okay, great. Then I'll just read it this way. Then there's the voice that roars like a lion, a big voice that tells you, always keep trying. We all have voices, voices to hear. My voice is a trumpet, strong, clear. My voice will be loud when I know I'm not sure, and to wonder, to learn, and ask as I go. I will learn to speak up, to show I am strong, to stand for what's right, and to know what feels wrong. My voice is a rainbow after the storm, loving, comforting, safe, warm. I'll use my voice to find joy in others and reminding us all we're sisters and brothers. I'll say no to hate by using this voice and always choose love, a magical choice. Save the earth. Voices are powerful, and voices together are strong, like the beautiful notes of a beautiful song. How will you use your voice? So what kinds of things will you use your voice for? What things are you willing to stand up and say, I believe in this, I don't like that, or we should all do something together? Are there at least one thing for everybody? You have one thing?
Oh.
You have nothing to believe in. You believe in nothing.
Like being against bullying? Like,
Yeah, being against bullying. Raise your voice. If you see somebody that's giving somebody else a hard time, especially younger kids, then you stand up and say, that's not okay. I'm going to do something about that. Anything else?
Being against racism?
Yeah, racism, sexism, all those isms that are so wrong in our society that we still have to fight for.
Being against homophobes.
Oh, yeah, that's almost like a combination of the bullying and the racism. Yeah, homophobes, they don't know yet. Yeah. Do you have one? No? Well, for me, it's echo. I'm an echo warrior, so I stand up for the trees and the animals and all of our ecological things that we have in this country and around the world. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming and hearing this story. Now you go to class. Bye-bye.
As we leave this friendly place, love gives light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts as we return.
Our centering hymn this morning is Meditation on Breathing. So you're invited to stay in your seats. Maybe feel your seats under you. Really feel them. Feel where you are. in this moment, in this place with us.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe.
People get ready, there's a train coming, picking up passengers coast to coast. All you need is faith to hear the deacon calling. Don't need no ticket, you just get on board. People get ready, love for all. Makes no difference who you are. All you need is faith to hear the deacon call. You don't need no ticket, get on board. Ooh. Mm. Mm. There's hope for the saints and sinners.
When I breathe,
Love is the key. There's love for all.
when I breathe,
All you need is hear the deacon calling.
when I
You
breathe,
don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. So people get ready. There's a train coming. It's picking up passengers coast to coast. All you need is faith for calling. You don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord.
when I breathe in,
Breathe in.
I breathe in peace. When I breathe out,
Breathe out.
I breathe out love. When I breathe in,
Breathe in.
I breathe in peace. When I breathe out,
Breathe out.
I breathe out. When I breathe in, breathe in.
Breathe
I
in.
breathe in.
Breathe.
I breathe out.
Breathe out.
I breathe out love. When I breathe in.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a community of care where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If you would like to come forward and light a candle in silence, it's always okay to light a candle in silence. Or you can give a brief verbal expression of your special joy, sorrow, or important milestone. Let's begin sharing joys and sorrows. And if you would join me in the spirit of prayer, taking a deep breath in and out, settling into your chair, perhaps closing your eyes or even just letting your gaze rest for a second. Spirit of life, God, Goddess, the world is forever changing. New babies are born, loved ones pass away, old trees die, replaced by fields of flowers creeping up from the ground. The rain comes and it goes. There's both hope and despair in change. We find ourselves sometimes anxious, afraid of our current political environment, afraid of our lives looking different. We also hold or have grief memories of loved ones lost, sadness at the movement of time. Spirit, may we find comfort in the midst of our sadness and worry. May our community, this church, give us comfort. May our environment, the beauty around us, give us comfort. Spirit, change is hard. We know this. May we find hope. Hope that progress happens despite continued injustice. Hope that things will get better. May we also find, Spirit, love, even as we face hard times. Love from friends, family, and community. A big love, an all-encompassing love. Love even from the divine, from your Spirit. Love all around. Let us take a moment of silence. May it be so. Amen.
Our reading this morning is an adaptation from a prayer, History's Road, by Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley and Clyde Grubbs. The road of history is long, full of both hope and disappointment. In times past, there have been wars and rumors of wars, violence and exploitation, hunger and homelessness, and destruction of this earth, your creation. We have become a global village with a growing realization of how fragile this earth is and how interconnected we are to each other and all of creation. We cannot continue to live in the old way. We must make a change, see a new way, a way towards peace and justice and a healthy planet. We think of the prophets, women and men who voiced unpopular opinions, who made personal sacrifices, and sometimes lost their lives, all for the sake of justice. We think of Isaiah, who called to let out those who were held in captivity go free, to give solace to the poor and to the homeless. Let us be inspired by all who work to overcome misery, poverty, and exploitation. We think of Harriet Tubman, who called out to people of goodwill to join her on an underground railroad, to lift a dehumanized people from the bondage of slavery and to the promise of freedom, even when it meant challenging unjust laws. Let us be inspired by those who are outlaws for freedom. We think of Gandhi, whose belief in soul force, the witness to love's truth, helped to overthrow the oppression of an empire and gave witness to the way of nonviolent action. Let us be inspired to become witnesses for peace. We think of Chief Seattle, who reminded us that we belong to the earth, not the earth to us. Let us be inspired by all those who work for the healing of creation, of Mother Earth, and all her creatures. Who are the prophets that inspire you? They may be well known or known only to you, offering personal inspiration, courage, and hope. May they join in a great cloud of witness to a new way of life, a way of peace and justice, the way of justice lived according to the way of peace, the beloved community. Greetings from Neighborhood Church from Pasadena, California, and where we are currently working on about to end a 3-year deep and meaningful interim ministry, which includes healing, skill building, and visioning for our future. We are also preparing to call a new minister and are actively in the search process right now. And just last year voted to affirm the 8th principle that your congregation is working on right now. I'm the warm-up act for what will be a powerful and deep workshop and conversation with Dr. Paula Cole-Jones as you explore what the 8th principle might mean to this congregation and community and how you might move forward in adapting the 8th principle. Paula asked me to deliver this sermon this morning, which kind of scared me to death, so I rationalized it a little bit. First off, I'm a social worker. I'm not a minister, and this is a talk, not a sermon. So let's go. So I claim Unitarian Universalism as a birthright, although technically I was adopted at 3 months of age. I'm transracially adopted, which means that my parents are of a different ethnic background than I am, and my family, by definition, has always been diverse and created diversity in the spaces that we occupied. Growing up in a suburb of Chicago, I attended Unity Temple in Oak Park, which is the Frank Lloyd Wright designed church with the leaky roof. You have something in common. I remember Unity Temple putting on a production of Jesus Christ Superstar in a sanctuary a little bit like this. I remember nuclear disarmament protests in the sleet and snow from the safety of an umbrella stroller. I remember the smell of wood. There was a reason my parents chose Oak Park. And it was not long ago that I learned about the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. The center, established in 1972, had controlled the racial balance of this village. Reporter David Murray of the Chicago Reader wrote that once you enter the center, you get handed a questionnaire card. The card contained information as well as this statement. The policy of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center is to assist in achieving meaningful and lasting racial diversity in the West Suburban Chicago area. Clients are encouraged to consider the full range of housing opportunities, especially those which contribute to racial diversity. Listings will be provided in keeping with this policy. Murray goes on to write, soon you'll be driven by an escort to visit several apartments on the eastern and southeastern sections of Oak Park where blacks are concentrated. If things go well, you'll find an apartment that you'll rent. Unless you ask, you'll never be told why they picked that neighborhood for you. This might be called steering, which is illegal if it's done by a realtor. But for this center, it's, as a concierge service, it was and is perfectly legal. To this day, Oak Park remains approximately 30% black. Moving to California in 1980, where my father took a job in Irvine, my parents asked around for what might be a diverse place to live near work. We were told Costa Mesa. After a year there, we moved to an apartment complex in Irvine near his office. Diverse? A little bit, but the only people that looked like me were bussed in from the local El Toro Marine Base. My dad, an engineer, had an opportunity to take an assignment in Saudi Arabia. And in 1983, we landed in Dhahran on the east coast of the kingdom. Stepping off the airplane and into the desert world, I remember being transformed into the majority and my parents realizing that they were now the minority. They had tried to intentionally live in communities where, while they still remained part of the white majority, there was enough diversity of people of color to help our family blend in, somewhat. In Saudi Arabia, the majority of people had my complexion. Non-Arabic women were required to cover all bare skin below the face, and Arabic women were almost always literally unseen. So there were a lot of men, dark-skinned men, in a male-dominated and driven society. Men that looked like me. My parents would periodically make comments about their discomfort, especially my mom's discomfort, about how their identity gave them minority status. We've never really talked about this before, but maybe we will now. Coming home from Saudi Arabia, I went to my first summer camp at De Benneville Pines, which is our local Unitarian Universalist camp and conference center. I still have good friends today that I made in the summer of 1985, and these connections deepen my commitment to Unitarian Universalism. It was in 1996 that I landed at Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena, where I served on staff as a paid youth advisor and became a member. Over the next years, we did some fundraising to send our youth group to General Assembly, but I forgot to fundraise for myself and had to stay home. My first General Assembly was in 1998 in Rochester, New York. For those of you not familiar with General Assembly, it is the annual gathering of approximately 1,000 congregations across our association. On first contact, it feels a bit like a hippie convention of 3,000 to 5,000 individuals there to celebrate the committee work that we do. You've got folks that are interested in the wide range of workshops to deepen their faith and involvement at local churches like yours, and you have the policy wonks who love a good plenary session and are deeply invested in parliamentary procedures. And I think I have a few of those in this room. That first evening after the opening banner parade and plenary, I was invited to a gathering at a hotel suite. And I don't know the best way to describe it, but walking into the room, which was packed with what felt like at least 100 people, and all people of color, at a Unitarian Universalist gathering, I'm ashamed to say I felt like something was really wrong. Why would this many people of color be gathered in one place, in one time, in a denomination like ours? Something bad must have happened. I met 3 others who sat me down and helped me explain what was going on, because I think they saw the look of confusion on my face. They were Robert Diaz, Reverend Patricia Jimenez, and Reverend Danielle DeBona. I remember crying that night, and I'm forever grateful for them. Sorry. I was introduced to leaders in this denomination who I now refer to as both my elders and ancestors. They helped me walk through a door that one really can't walk back out of. Unitarian Universalism has always been my chosen spiritual home, but now I was being forced to reconcile as a person of color within this faith, and more importantly, with a community of others who have been on this journey for some time. The journey of people of color within Unitarian Universalism stems back over 50 years. Victor Carpenter and the Commission on Appraisal separately wrote and jointly published the history of the Black empowerment movement within Unitarian Universalism. It's a painful history, full of hope, and it's unapologetically ours. What I gained is a whole new understanding of the living tradition is ours to claim, and I was able to claim my elders, and some of those elders include Paula Cole-Jones, Danielle DeBona, Jackie James, Mel Hoover, Leon Spencer, Jose Ballister, Robert Diaz, Jackie Williams, Michelle Bentley, Janice Johnson, Rosemary Bray McNatt, William Sinkford, Clyde Grubbs, Corrine and Silvera Grant, Jim Collins, Norma Poinsett, and many others. There are even more who are so close to me in age that they'd be pretty upset if I called them elders right now, so I won't. I also claim my ancestors who I have known, loved, worshiped with, and lost over the past 25 years, including Hope Johnson, William Chester McCall, Ruth Alatorre, who was a member here at Pacific Unitarian Church, Marjorie Bones Wheatley, Jim Brown, Patricia Jimenez, Orlando Brugnola, Betty Holcomb, and Alondria Williams. I get to claim my elders and ancestors. Who do you in this faith tradition get to claim? You've already been doing some studying, and you're going to learn more about the eighth principle later today. We, as Unitarian Universalists, operate on a set of 7 principles. Those principles are very similar to the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics, which I follow, and it makes it very easy for me to move between my Sundays and the rest of my week. The eighth principle is a call to action for all of us to fully live out those Unitarian Universalist principles, to include many of us who've experienced some level of marginalization or othering in our faith homes, and to create a space to welcome more of the world in. The eighth principle reads, we covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. I want to take a moment to contrast the eighth principle with the Article 2 Study Commission, which Paula also participated in developing. For those of you not familiar with our quirky Unitarian Universalist practices, we do everything by committee. Everything. Much to the discomfort of some of our leaders who feel it is not necessarily the most efficient way to get things done, committee work is central to our faith practice because it requires that we do things in community and in covenant with each other. In a nutshell, the purpose of our association with each other is to call each other to love one another, to understand God is love. Critical to the eighth principle and critical to the work of the Article 2 Study Commission, there are verbs included in the language. There is a call to action. It is not enough just to say what we believe, but it is important that we demonstrate how we believe, how we care, how we are in the world with each other and with the larger community. The work of the Article 2 Study Commission opens our spiritual practice and our spiritual identity to a larger audience where we have more common language to interact with those of other denominations and other faiths and other spiritual practices. It opens up the ability to welcome people with a little bit more radical hospitality. I want to turn to another concept that's important to your work here. Radical hospitality is the practice where we unconditionally welcome people into our community. It is believed to have been initiated by Saint Benedict and is what is called the Benedictine rule. Monks come to a monastery, and there they practice radical hospitality in welcoming the stranger. But monks don't show up predisposed to meeting the stringent criteria on how to treat each other. Monks become monks because they are working on something within themselves. When we make a commitment to anti-racism, we make a commitment to a journey. The journey for me began when I was walking into that hotel suite in Rochester. Or at least that's when I became aware of the journey. In her article on white supremacy, first published in 1999, Tema Okun identifies a number of characteristics that are associated with white supremacy culture. They include fear, perfectionism, binary or either-or thinking, worship and the written word, individualism and being the one, defensiveness and denial, fear of open conflict, and hoarding of power. The board of trustees that I serve on recently read this article as part of our own internal discernment. I was positively surprised by how we approached the materials and was acutely aware of how this material had been accessed and absorbed between when it was first published in 1999 and now. The evolution of talking about anti-racism and anti-oppression over the last 25 years has also transformed. In the wake of 2020, there have been atrocities of civil rights and violence that we have witnessed too many times in the media and sometimes in person. We are simply at a different place to receive this information, and we are at a very different place on how we can respond to this information. I used to think that guilt and shame were worthless feelings and emotions. To remain in a space so self-deprecating and judgmental feels like a bad use of energy. We also know that the more time we spend around positive people, we feel more positive. And the more time we spend around negative people, we feel more negative. Guilt and shame used to be in that category for me. I understand a little bit differently now and appreciate how we can use these feelings as a barometer of where we are and where we might want to go. For the purposes of anti-racism work, guilt and shame give us an indicator that something is not quite right. Something that we can lean into, something that we may want to consider, be more mindful about. And unlike guilt and shame that we may witness in some of our counterpart religions and practices of spirituality, we do not get to be absolved of our sins. We need to carry these and learn. Unitarian Universalism often attracts people who, like us, are focused on intellectualism, humanism, doing good work in the world through social justice and advocacy. We need to take the time to look at how we experience guilt, how we experience shame, how we identify sin as indicators of where we are and where we should be going. I experienced a certain element of shame when I walked into that conference room in Rochester over 20 years ago. I did not like the fact that I immediately felt like something was wrong by having so many people of color in one space together. A number of years ago, I was asked to deliver a sermon not unlike here today, and I shared some of the background about the history of DRUM. DRUM stands for Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries. It's the people of color movement within our denomination, and at that time, I read some information from the bylaws. And this is part of it. As a people of color mobilized an anti-racist collective, we unite to work for self-determination, justice, and equal opportunity, empower our various ministries, celebrate our diverse heritages, overcome racism through resistance, transform and enrich Unitarian Universalism through our multicultural experience. And our unique identity within Unitarian Universalism as a diverse, anti-racist people of color community carries with it both responsibilities and opportunities. Therefore, we in DRUM covenant with one another to change the racial status quo in the Unitarian Universalist Association, to develop tools and strategies to work together, to remain together and present with one another through disagreement and conflict, to connect to this organization and one another through our professional and personal affiliations with the UUA, to provide leadership and vision towards the journey towards wholeness, and to hold one another accountable in our efforts to become an anti-oppressive faith community. Like today, I was honored and flattered to participate in delivering this sermon, and I had no idea what I was doing. Sharing the mission statement was very matter of fact to me, and it is an organization that I've had the opportunity to serve with Paula and a number of both ancestors and elders. I didn't think much of it, though I thought it was really benign, simply naming who we were and who we are and who we wish to be. I later learned, similar to your joys and concerns today, I later learned that the following Sunday, another member of that congregation, an elder, felt the need to share during their joys and concerns that the words I shared that day did not represent them, and that they were not interested in creating waves or causing harm within their congregation. This has sat with me for quite some time. My guilt for creating an uncomfortable space for another person of color within their congregation, a place that should be safe for them. That's the piece that we've got to figure out, a way to push through together. Before I walked through that door, I didn't understand the impact of racism and the power of anti-racism on my body, on my soul, and in my spiritual home. It's jarring and acknowledging, and to support others on the path, I and we need to put structures in place to give us guidance and support for all who come through that door. You and me, the existing structures of our institutions do not provide that for us. Our institutions are designed for longevity, for self-protection of the institution, not to welcome all people. The eighth principle intentionally challenges this institutional structure. It is part of a larger theology of liberation. The eighth principle, DRUM, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, AUM, which stands for the African American Unitarian Universalist Ministers Network, APIC, which stands for the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus, and LUNA, the Latina UU Network, and so many other collectives that are designed to help identity groups come together and find their communal strength, are not intended to make any of us feel uncomfortable, to make us feel guilty, to make us feel shame, to make us feel like we've committed some sort of sin. My hope today is that you as a congregation continue to embrace the radical hospitality that you've brought to me here today. Just as you made Ruth Alatorre feel 25 years ago, and move to the next iteration of who you are and who you are going to be as an inclusive community, as an inclusive space that embraces the awareness of that diversity can and will make you stronger, and that congregations like these are what we have to counter so much pain that we experience in the world. We have opportunities over and over to share our superpower of love and acceptance, to demonstrate justice, equity, and compassion with a hurting world. And we need to. The first few months of this year have brought us painful reminders with the deaths of too many people of color to unnecessary violence. Resme Menachem writes in My Grandmother's Hands, "Race is a myth, but a myth with teeth and claws. Institutions, structures, beliefs, and narratives have been created out of it. Until we recognize for the collective delusion that it is, it might as well be real." Menachem advocates for somatic abolition. Like with these recent deaths, we experience racialized trauma in our bodies, in our bones. Black bodies, bodies of color, do not have to be biologically related to retain the trauma and the shock of racism. White bodies don't either. But if we're going to dispel this collective delusion, we need to have proactive care for our whole bodies, not just our minds and logical thought processes. The pain we experience with these losses does not go away just on its own. So how does this sermon end, or talk end? I don't know, but you have something to say in the path ahead. This past Thursday night, I was asked to participate in my professional capacity to support an event called a Racial Justice Learning Exchange. The event was sponsored by County Supervisor Holly Mitchell and was held right down the way at the Manhattan Beach Public Library. Was anybody there by chance? Okay. The room was packed with diversity, and it was diverse and it was packed. And after the introduction, attendees then broke into small groups and conducted listening circles focused on white supremacy and white fragility in a public library, led by an elected official, a politician. There were critics of the event that were offended by the title even before it took place, asking why would a public official want to name and focus an event on white fragility? Supervisor Mitchell responded, "It's a book in a library." It made sense. So here's your call to action. I invite you to do the work, take the risk, have the discussion, feel it in your soul, feel it in your core. I ask that you do this for me, do this for Ruth, do this for the person sitting next to you, do this for you. The actions that you take towards discerning the eighth principle, embracing radical hospitality, being in your bodies, and in the process bearing witness for your ancestors and elders and mine, will be the living legacy that you create for this beloved community. One of my favorite franchises happens to feature Dr. Cornel West, and the first film in that series ends with some editing like this. "I know you're out there. I can feel you now, and I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of offending. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how this is going to begin. I'm going to put down this phone, and I'm going to show the people that what we need them to see. I'm going to show them a world without racism, a world without rules and controls, without borders and boundaries, a world where anything is possible, where you go from here is a choice I leave to you." Amen. Blessed be, and Ashe.
Thank you so much, James. The good work of this church depends on the generosity of our friends and members. The offertory is a time to enjoy good music and to reflect on the gifts you give and receive from our community. May we give of ourselves, our time, our talents, and our financial gifts during our offertory.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mysteries of this hour. Our trials light up, they appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy. Now and then, gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit and heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid and store, nurtured in love, conscious, refined, with body and spirit, united once more. Gather in the peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy. Now and again, gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit, growing in awe, drawn by the moon, fed by the sun, winter to spring, then summer to fall. The chorus of life resounding to one. Gather in spirit, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy. Now and then, gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
And you're invited to stand for our closing hymn, I Got a Feeling.
I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Well, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Well, now I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right, be all right, be all right. Whoa, Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Holy Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Holy Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right.
I got a feeling. Come on, guys. Things gonna be all right. Men, I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. It's gonna be all right.
Oh, Holy Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Back there, Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Holy Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right.
It's gonna
Be all right. Severin,
I got a feeling
I got a feeling
everything's gonna be all right.
it's gonna be all right.
I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right.
I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right.
Be all right. Be all right.
It's gonna
Be all right.
right.
Well,
Gonna be all
right. Be all right. Be all right.
Our benediction is called Pushing Forward, and it comes from Alondria Williams, who we lost in 2020 and was a co-moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association. If we believe in the promise of our faith, we must continue pushing forward, even if that reality makes us want to give up. There is no one-size-fits-all solution or model, but there are many paths forward based on context, relationships, and place. Ideology sparks movements, but relationships are what change organizations and sustain movements. It takes one relationship at a time. In the end, changes to the leadership of the institution happen because of relationships, people pushing. We must place value on the relationships and the need to not leave folks behind in our quest for transformation. And we do this in community. Community doesn't include only the people who agree with you or those with whom you want to be friends. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is similar in the sense that we are a small religious community of people who are not bound by creed, but instead are bound by principles, values, a covenant with the need for intellectual rigor combined with spiritual depth and humanist love. Everything comes back to our congregations and our covenanted communities. This is where the faith starts and ends. We must embody the changes we wish to see and not just say that we believe in the changes. We must actually live in the changes with every fabric of our being. If we believe in the promise of our faith, we must continue pushing forward for our ancestors, for our community, and for our future. Build tomorrow, today, and with each other.
I would say amen to that.
Chloe asked me to help with the closing words, but if it's okay, you know, sometimes I go off script. Thank you, Jewel, for inviting James and for putting this together. I was so moved today. James, thank you so much. That was incredible. Okay, now I'll go back on script. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there's a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forevermore. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. And blessed be. And now our service truly begins. Thank you.
Well, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Well, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Well, now I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. 7 minutes.
Oh, I got a feeling
Yeah.
everything's gonna be all right.
Well.
I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right.
I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah. Mr. Saucier.
Show off.